Sisters and brothers from all around the world, welcome to the chapter 1, part 1. This is the site translation of the full book. Thanks by Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Please subscribe, click the bell, and give us a like, comment. Remember that if you do it with all the respect and good intentions, you are more than welcome to correct us because the reader, the translator that you are hearing, I am a native speaker of Spanish. I am a Spanish native speaker, sorry. So English it's challenge is a challenge for me. So I will start. I hope you like it and you are more than welcome to comment. Thank you. Let's start. Dedicated to the young people. Chapter 1. From Tepetitan to Mexico City. I born in the town of Tepetitan, village of Macuspana, state of Tabasco. This is the most tropical state in Mexico. My childhood happened without any issue and with a very uh, important attachment to the nature. I born completely free to play and to enjoy the the fields and the river because my town it is kind of an island. There is water everywhere. It is placed um, on the side of the river called Tepetitan, and it is surrounded by creeks and a lagoon or a lake. Some times with the rains, everything got floated completely. So there was water running everywhere, uh, all around the streets. And for us as the kids, there was a great opportunity for joy. When I grew up, I knew that those floatings uh, were um, were very bad, but also at the same time gave fertility to the land and increased the fishing. The river Tepetitan borns in the beautiful Agua Azul Cascades in Chiapas. This river is called Tulija, and it descends to the plains until it gets attached with the Grijalva River and the Usumacinta River and finish at the sea in a place called Frontera in the state of Tabasco. My town exists since the pre-Hispanic times. It's a place where Hernán Cortés traveled carrying Cuauhtémoc prisoner with another important authorities from the indigenous people. A little bit forward like 90 miles, there is Guatemala. In Canitzán, Tenosique, Tabasco, on the side of the river Usumacinta, the conqueror sended to kill the last of the Mexican Tlatoanis, the highest chief. There is a crime because of which he had a trial and he were judged by the Spanish trials. Um, but he weren't judged because of many massacres that he performed over the indigenous people, like the Cholula one, or the Templo Mayor one, or the Yecapixtla one. From this one, he himself wrote that the river that runs around that town, I open quotes, for more than an hour became inked with blood. Finish of the quotes. So we should stop the simulation that says that the Spanish invasion was motivated for the gold and it was a civilitarian uh, perform, because that is just an excuse of the barbaric issues that there happened. So I am from this town on the side of a river in the middle of an exuberant landscape into a territory that, said by the writer Pellicer, Master Pellicer, it is more water than land. Open quotes. I am from that part of the world in which the land is keeping under construction. The people who live, who born there, we have our own idea about what it is the soul and what it is the body. When I was a kid, you could arrive to the downtown of the village of Macuspana riding a horse, or in a cayuco, that it was a canoe made hollowed out a big tree, or over a boat. The highway, it was just a road that it was always in a very bad shape. Those days, the only ways to arrive to my home or to my town, you could travel or drive them riding a horse over a river or over the creek. The train, the Southwest train, opened in 1950, and the Gulf Highway arrived to Villahermosa in 1958. Of course, in those days, living nearby the sea, it was like living nearby the world. And the reader is speaking. Here you have a cultural advice that it's the gray land that you can see there. It's right down the United States of America. It's Mexico. The green small part that you can see here, it is Tabasco. And there you can see the, I mean, the zoom that shows you Macuxpana inside of Tabasco. Okay, more or less, if you want to Google Macuxpana, Tabasco, I will leave you in the I mean, just below, I will leave you the name so you can Google it and let me know if you want to know a little bit more about this very beautiful place. In Mexico, we have a quote that says that the only heaven exists in Tabasco, because it is really an amazing, beautiful place. We will go on. To Tepetitan used to arrive the Campeche canoes full of um, goods and delicious dishes like the water cookie. My family gave me a lot so I could grow up very happy in that natural and social environment. My father and my mother used to be merchants and they loved me a lot. So, in this family love atmosphere, the links between siblings became truly fratern and supportive. In the other hand, in my town, the social differences not used to be very uh, visible because we didn't used to have a very marked economical differences because of the um, the sons of the peasants, fishermen, farmers, ranchers, alijadores, day laborers, and boatmen used to live together, to play together, and we used to have a very spontaneous harmony. Since the Madero revolutionary government started, my grandparents arrived to live in Tabasco. In Spain, the antique names used to be or used to has to do with what the people used to do for living. This is the reason why the last name like zapatero, shoemaker, carpintero, woodman, pescador, fisherman, and obrador, laborman exist. My grandmother, from my mother's side, she was from Entrambasaguas in Cantabria, Spain. Her name was Felipa Revuelta. My grandparents, from my father's side, were from Veracruz, from the Papaloapan shore. They were jarochos and very proud of. The reader is speaking jarochos. It's the way that we in Mexico call the people who born in Veracruz, jarochos. Go back to the reading. And through their veins used to run white indigenous and black blood. I don't believe that human races exist at all, but I do assure that diverse culture does. My grandfather, Lorenzo Lopez Montalvo, stood widow because my grandmother, Candelaria, died when my father born. So my grandfather Lencho, here the reader is speaking again, Lencho and Lorenzo is the same as Bill and William. My grandfather Lencho got another wife, a new wife. He was a farmer and he didn't had any land for planting. So he became part of the thousands of families in all around the country that received a land from the government. This happened in the 60s and the 70s of the past century. Those national lands were given to these families so they can uh, live and plant in the tropical jungles from Campeche and Quintana Roo. He is buried in the cemetery of Ejido Constitución from the Calakmul village in Campeche. He was a good man. He was like a saint. My father arrived to Tepetitan in 1952 as an oil worker. My mother, Manuelita, was always dedicated to attend or to run my father's store. Manuelita were always merchant. When she was young, she used to ride her cayuco and traveled selling goods in every ranch that were located at the shores of the river, creeks, and lakes. When she used to came back to Tepetitan, she got her cayuco full of corn, beans, rice, and pigs, because in those days the trueque or interchange of products was the main kind of merchant. I born on November 13 of 1953. I am proud because 2 centuries before, in 1753, Miguel Hidalgo born, and in 1853, Jose Martí born. The reader is speaking. Miguel Hidalgo is for the Mexicans the same as George Washington is for the United States people. So is the father of our motherhood land. And Jose Martí, it's pretty much the same, not exactly the same, but pretty much the same. And he was a poet from Cuba. So he was also a hero of the Cuban independence. The reader comes back to the reading. This is why I really like the part when Ana Belén sings, I also born in the 53, especially that part of the song that says, what can I tell you that you did not live yet? What can I tell you that you hasn't dreamed yet? I studied my primary school in a school that has the name of a great writer from Tabasco, Marcos y Becerra. I remember with lots of love my teachers, and mainly the teacher Guadalupe Antonio de la Cruz, and my other teacher Joaquin Gonzalez Paz, who was also a baseball player. I grew up in a Catholic family, but we shouldn't forget some peculiarities that the religion had in Tabasco since the colonial times. There, we never had a source of religious tradition because the evangelization not only struggles with the indigenous cultural resistance, but also some obstacles like swamps, jungles, heat, and mosquitoes. We also had the lack of precious metals. In those days, there was the main source of the economy in that colonial period. So in Tabasco, we never had that Novo Hispanic traces of a very deep Catholicism that the center of the country had. Something similar happened in all the 19th century with some religious practices that were always had always relation more with the socials than with a truth, devotion, and faith. So during the Porfirio Diaz times, the Masonry had a very big influence. The most important governors in that period were Simon Sarlat-Nova and Abraham Bandala, who were liberal and made um, a secular society. After that, in between 1919 and 1935, a strong man dominated Tabasco, Tomás Garrido Canaval. He really supported education, the rational education, and the progress. He fought against alcoholism and he applied a anti-clerical politics without similar in the rest of the country. In this Garridist era, he decreed that the priests were only able to practice if they were married, in between many other requirements. If you think that this is not enough, well, in those days, the members of the Radical Socialist Party of the Resistance of the Central League, who may be known after as red shirts, they used to perform some cultural assemblies in all the public squares. They used to read speeches and poems against religion. They used to burn religious images. In fact, the temples were destroyed or converted in schools. They prohibit the use of crosses over the graves and also the scripts that may some reference to God. The holidays were substituted by regional fairs, and they also change the fanatic names or fanatic naming all around the towns in Tabasco by the names of heroes, teachers, libertarians, artists, and wise men. It was not also well seen to give your child the name of a saint. So in Tabasco, we have more philosopher names, artist names, and other um, famous leaders from around the world. So these Tabasco peculiarities of the precedent centuries are the only way to explain the very low resistance that the people had to this new Garridist modern politics modality. The only who really opposed to this politics there were the indigenous chontales. They really had to support or to confront a very violent repression. And not only because these politics were really going against the religious manifestation, but also because this politics really harmed the other aspects of their cultural tradition. And also in the tropical areas, things really happened in a different way. And this is never being understood by the great writer, English writer Graham Greene. He visited Tabasco in 1938, and in one part of his novel, Ways Without Law, he registered this way his dialogue with a dentist, an American dentist, with a last name called Winter, and he used to live in Frontera, Tabasco. Open quotes. The only bad thing about Garrido it was that he attacked the church, and with that, you can't win anything, or by doing that, you can't do anything, he said. If he weren't be so hard with the church, he will be here still. But it seems that he did what he want, or he got what he want. I said, there are no priests and no churches here. Oh, he answered illogically. Here, no one is interested by religion. Here is too warm. The Dr. Winter answer weren't away from reality at all. In the tropical area, you cannot be inside of yourself, like just meditating and enclosed in between four walls. The weather really has to do with the way you are and the mood of the people. The Tabasqueño man, the Tabasquian man, use less clothes, it's open, it's expressive, they don't speak quiet but yell. And we have to add that in the tropical area, the rivers overflow, the skies really, it seems to have a storm pretty easy, and the greens are like in a huge meeting, and the heat of the springs, or the heat of the really burning canicula, really turn on the passions and blow with facility and with a very rude honesty. We can even say that Tabascan people, we are like liberals by nature, like free by nature. And perhaps this is the reason why, in between other factors, in my land, the conservadorism never really grown with roots. We just have to say one thing: Tabasco is the state with less presence of the National Action Party, PAN in Spanish. The reader is speaking, this is the um, most conservative party in Mexico. Um, in all our history, this party um, being there, even the last elections lost the register. They never got the minimal uh, that the law established for has a party. They never got the 3% of the votes. Well, so we finished by now. The all the part one are is already there. So if you like it, go for it. And please, if you like it, give us a like, subscribe, and comment. Bye.